guys, welcome back to Believe in Eagles. I'm your host, Leigh Mayock, and graciously joining us for the second week in a row, we have my dad, Mike Mayock, here with us. Welcome back, Mike.
Mike?
I had to try it.
That kind of reminds me of one of the first guys you ever brought home on a date that tried to get a little too comfortable walking in the front door. You remember that?
Yeah, that was honestly a traumatic experience. You guys, I was home from college, and this guy I met at Penn State also lived near where I lived at home, like on one of the breaks. And he came over to take me out, and my dad, I've never met him. I was like barely dating him. And he came over and rang the doorbell, and my dad answered it, and the guy goes, "Hey Mike, nice to meet you." And I was in the back like, no, 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 no. Like, you don't do that. That's crazy. And I didn't know what you were gonna do, Dad. Like, I thought you might punch him.
I mean, he was a college kid that looked like he was about 11, and he's calling me Mike.
It's crazy.
All I did really was I shook his hand, and I turned around and looked at you and said, "He's all yours. Have fun."
We never had another date.
Not because of me.
No, but I mean, yeah, that was crazy.
All right, how about those Eagles, huh?
Well, have you been, what did you do this weekend?
This weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, my life's not real good right now with this hip replacement coming up.
I know.
You know, I'm a little bit, I'm not working out as much.
Breaking news. Mike Mayock is getting his hip replaced next week.
You asked me how I'm doing.
You have two knees already.
I had both knees replaced bilaterally, I guess 11, 12 years ago. And unfortunately for a lot of football players, this is kind of the road. You know, you get beat up orthopedically a little bit. And so both my knees, I got a hip coming up. My shoulders are both messes, but I wouldn't have changed a thing.
You're thriving. Have you been watching the Olympics?
I have been.
What have you watched?
I got a kick out of watching the men's volleyball beat, who was it, Germany yesterday.
Was it
I've watched
at beach or indoor?
That was the indoor, and I was kind of laughing because, you know, our buddy Alex Flanagan, who I used to work with at NFL Network and Notre Dame games. You know, Flanny's like 6 feet, 6'1", her husband's 6'8", I think, former college basketball player. And they have all these huge kids who are playing college volleyball, and maybe someday could be in the Olympics. So I was kind of looking at it through the prism of Flanny and her family. And there's some big athletic dudes spiking the ball and moving around, jumping out of the gym. Enjoyed some of that. Enjoyed the women's and the men's gymnastics.
You know, that's my favorite.
That was fun. Did you see the picture of who was it? Shaq and
Simone Biles?
And Biles?
No, but I kind of picture it.
It was apparently Biles is 4'8".
He's 4'8", literally 4'8", yeah.
And Shaq is 7'1", and there's a picture of him like hugging her like this from 3 or 4 years ago, and you have to see the picture to believe it.
I can picture it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling. But I thought that the women for the U.S. gymnastics team, under a lot of pressure, just stepped up, and I got a kick out of the nerdy dude on the men's team. Horse,
right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like they bring him out of the bullpen. He takes his glasses off after he took a nap and snaps off the.
He wasn't napping. He was meditating, which is awesome. And that's another Penn Stater right there.
Well, and then, you know, good for you. Go meditate.
What do you think you can't pick basketball. What do you think you would have been in the Olympics for? Track and field, probably?
It would probably have been, because I was a good athlete and could run a little bit. It'd probably be like a decathlete or a 400 meter guy, something like that.
Oh.
You would have been probably what, 400 meters?
100%. And I would have smoked everybody, but wasted potential.
No, you could run.
To go there, huh?
No, you could run.
Thanks.
And you know, your grandfather thought you could have been an Olympic athlete. I mean, people out there watching don't know that you scored 1,200 to 1,500 points in high school basketball. You could run. You were athletic.
It's just annoying because track probably was my best thing, but to me, running is just it wasn't fun. Like, it was just conditioning.
Well, let's be honest. If you weren't having fun, you were leaving.
100%. It's fine. So we probably should get into it because you know what's crazy, Dad? I was thinking when I was prepping for this, I was like, wow, we actually have a lot to talk about. And my whole like trepidation, even doing a podcast or reasons why I haven't done one yet is because I got so worried that we wouldn't have anything to talk about ever. And then today I'm like, oh, wait, there's a lot going on. A lot. So I was thinking we would get into just like the headlines around the league, Hall of Fame games tomorrow, and obviously Eagles training camp we'll get to. And I also, you'll love this, I asked social media to send in questions for you. So we'll get to those too.
Yeah, that'll be my favorite part of this show.
You're gonna probably turn your computer off and act like you had technical difficulties.
No, I'll just get up and leave.
That too. Okay, so Hall of Fame game is tomorrow, Canton, Ohio. Yep. Bears versus Texans, so that's essentially Caleb Williams versus CJ Stroud. I've actually worked that game for a lot of years when I was working for NFL Network. And I have to say, I don't think I ever watched down of the game, but I was like locked in for the enshrinement ceremonies, like sitting there, taking it all in, bawling my eyes out. So I really have never paid attention to the game. But what should we be looking for? What are you looking for?
Now you're right. The enshrinement thing's incredible, and some of those speeches get me in my heart. Like when Howie Long went in, and I've known Howie since he was 16 years old, and we're still really good friends. And
wait, what was he? He was your
he was my recruit
at Villanova,
at Boston College, and he went to Villanova.
Okay, that's what I got wrong. Okay.
Yeah, and we've been friends ever since. And Chris Long, his son, was involved in introducing him, and just so many good things come out of that, and you can learn so much. But as far as the game itself, I think you mentioned the two starting quarterbacks, neither of whom I don't think you're going to see.
Right.
But I do think there's a comparison here that's important, and I hear everybody like C.J. Stroud had a historical year last year. He was the second overall pick, and he took his team to the playoffs. They won in the wild card. They lost in the second round. What was it? I think at Baltimore. They beat Cleveland in the wild card. They lost at Baltimore. The kid had a historical rookie season, as good as anybody that ever played the game. He was the second overall pick, and Bryce Young was the first overall pick, and he had a rough year. He had a really tough year with no help.
Yeah.
So people are trying to say that last year CJ set this new bar
for rookie quarterbacks.
Rookie quarterbacks, and they're saying Caleb Williams needs to do this year what he did last year. And I'm going, whoa, time out. On the one hand, supporting that notion, Chicago's got three really good wide receivers. They traded for Keenan Allen. They drafted Rome Odunze. They just extended DJ Moore. They're loaded. They got DeAndre Swift at running back. They've upgraded, I hope, their offensive line. I'm still a little worried there, especially center and left tackle. DeAndre Swift at tailback. I mean, they have a chance to score a lot of points this year. But the expectation that people are putting on this rookie to have the same kind of year. You got to throw for 4,000 yards. You got to do, and I'm like, you know what? I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards, but CJ Stroud threw for 23 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That's unheard of for a rookie not to turn the football over. So everybody's heaping all these expectations on this kid. He's extremely talented. I did his tape last couple of years. He's got all kinds of ability and upside, but every kid matures at a different time frame. Yeah. So even though he's got a lot of help, I get nervous when people are throwing, you need to be CJ Stroud out there, because I think we need to give him more time to become Caleb Williams. So, and in a corollary to that, I think about and it's kind of an Eagles note that gets tied into it. I think the two offensive coordinators in the NFL that have the most pressure on them are Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, the new offensive coordinator in Chicago. For all the reasons he's coming over from Seattle. It's his first year in Chicago. People have all these crazy expectations, and it's up to him to maximize Caleb Williams. And I think it's similar in Philadelphia. I think Kellen Moore, the new offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, is under a ton of pressure. I mean, it's up to him to kind of maximize the quarterback in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, who I happen to feel has all kinds of talent and ability. And I think Shane Steichen 2 years ago got it out of him. That's why they went to the Super Bowl. So people are talking about Jalen Hurts and where he fits in the pantheon of NFL quarterbacks. And I say, hey, you're paying Kellen Moore a lot of money, and he's the guy that needs to get it out of him this year.
I mean, it just sounds like a lot of pressure on everybody, but I mean, they are getting paid a lot to perform under pressure, so it makes sense. But in terms of what you're saying about ranking Jaylen, did you see he just was number 15 on top 100 players?
I didn't really look at it. I think
like you don't really pay attention to those things, do you?
I saw the headline. Mm-hmm. That's the one the players vote on, I think?
Top 100, yes. I want to say yeah. And then there's the EA Madden one, and that's different.
Yeah, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. I think it's interesting and fun for people like us to talk about. And it allows the media to throw out all kinds of stuff. I mean, the way I grade quarterbacks, the way I look at NFL quarterbacks is there are two tranches.
What's a tranche?
Tranche. Should have learned that at Penn State.
I was too busy on the pommel horse.
So that first group or tranche is the franchise guys. And in any year, there could be, 4 to 8. There's probably 5, 6, 7 guys this year you could argue are franchise quarterbacks. And they're the guys that can put you on their back and take you to a Super Bowl because they're that good. Then the second group, and there's probably another 6, 8 of those guys. Maybe between the two groups, there's 15 or 16 total. But let's say that second group is like 7 through 15, right? I think Jalen Hurts entering this season is squarely in that group. Mm-hmm. Last year at this time, you would have had him way up
higher. Yeah.
Maybe franchise, right? Coming off a Super Bowl, right? Last year it wasn't as good. How much of that was all the stuff going on around them? The new coordinator a year ago, people getting hurt. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I look at Jalen Hurts this year solidly in that second group, but a chance, again, with all that talent around them, really good O-line, tight ends, wideouts, running back. If that offensive staff can get out of Jalen Hurts and everybody else, then Jalen Hurts has a chance to have a monster year, in my opinion.
I think he will. I know it's too early to tell, and I might eat my words, but I just think that I just think he's a smart enough guy and holds himself responsible for the things that go on. And he knows he has the weapons. He knows it's time to put out or shut up. And, it's just, I think it's going to be good.
No, he holds himself accountable.
Yeah.
I respect the kid. And again, we talked about this a little bit last week. It's just so hard when every year you got a new coordinator.
I know. Did you see he mentioned that too at his presser last week at camp?
Yeah, we talked about it last week, and speaking different languages and that whole conversation is that, can you imagine every year having to start from zero instead of building on the foundation you created the year before?
No, it's
and then juxtapose that with, Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Right.
Every year Pat Mahomes is taking it to the next level. He's not starting over again.
Right. Probably easier. Well, speaking of a lot of stuff going on in terms of quarterbacks and wideouts, the holdouts and the hold-ins going on still. Number one, obviously holdouts, I understand what that is. I've never heard of the term hold in my life. Is that a new way of saying it? Is it a buzzword? What is that?
No, it's in the last year or 2, 3. And what it is, it's kind of an accommodation between a club and a player where the player and the agent are basically saying, hey, I'm not taking the injury risk. Okay? But I don't want to stay out because if I stay out, you're going to fine me $50,000 a day.
Right.
And then when preseason games start, you're going to hit me with a paycheck. So it's a significant financial burden if you stay out.
So it is a difference. Okay.
What's that?
So it is a different thing. Okay.
So if you report to camp with the permission of your team, because the team can say you're not practicing and you're healthy, so it's the same. But if the team says no problem, and this is where I think teams are being smarter than in the old days. Like I heard Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco talking about Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah, he's a holdout.
Yeah, and the other day he was saying, hey, we got him in camp. He's in meetings. We have a chance to keep his mind focused on football. He knows, and we know, that John Lynch, the GM, and his cap people are working with Brandon's agent and trying to get a deal done. And while they're doing that, we keep him in camp. He's not getting fined, and we work together towards a solution. So that's what happens with, for instance, Aiyuk is one of those guys. Jamar Chase in Cincinnati.
So he's a hold-in too?
He's a hold-in. He's another one of those guys.
But then, so would CeeDee Lamb and Hassan Reddick be holdouts?
Yes, along with Trent Williams, who might be the best left tackle in football in San Francisco. All three of them are holding out. And then there's a developing situation in New England with Matthew Judon, who was practicing. And then yesterday or the day before, there was a visible conversation on the sideline where he refused to go through some drills. So, and was not at practice, I think, today. So there's been a whole bunch of different conversations going on there also. So hold out, hold in, there's a difference, and it's important to understand.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And the hold-ins seem better for a solution, if you ask me.
Yeah,
but reasonable. What do you think? Have you heard anything about like CeeDee Lamb or Hassan Reddick at all?
Here's the problem with the CeeDee Lamb situation is I think it goes beyond him. They have three players that are amongst the best players in the league at their position. Yeah. Dak Prescott, the quarterback, CD, wideout, and Micah Parsons, the edge rusher from Penn State. And the problem, I think, for Dallas is I don't think they've done a good job managing Dak Prescott's contract. He was a rookie fourth-round pick in 2016, played really well. They didn't pay him, so that he played on the salary cap, on the franchise tag, which I think was $31 million that year, which then forced him to come to terms on a 4-year deal. And he's in the fourth year of his 4-year deal now, where they're going to pay him $160 million over 4 years, and they're only getting 4 years out of it, and he's only 31 years old. He's in the prime of his career. In my opinion, a year ago or further, they should have had a new deal done with Dak. And let me tell you why. And the reason is, if you look at take Jordan Love with Green Bay, whose deal got done the other day.
And he just got married too, so he got paid and love. Get it? I just thought it was beautiful.
I'm happy you like the
really great summer. It was perfect.
The synchronicity of it. I'm happy you like
it. Yes, him and Tua too, yeah.
But the point is, Green Bay's given him $75 million as a bonus and $79 million total in year one. But then they can amortize that out over the 5 years of the contract, and the cap hit is only $21 million this year. So even though they're paying him $79 million, the cap hit is only $21. In Dallas, it's the opposite. Dak Prescott's at the end of his contract. His cap hit this year is $55 million. And if they had extended him a year ago and lightened the cap, they'd be able to pay Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb.
Why do you think they didn't do that? Just oversight, or?
I just don't think they've managed since they drafted him. And I give Dallas a ton of credit for the way they draft. But since they've drafted their quarterback, I don't think they've managed the money very well. And 2 years ago, he was coming off a season where I think he had 15 or 16 interceptions in 12 games. He got hurt. It wasn't his best season. So I'm not sure if they said he's got to prove it again. But regardless of what the internal machinations were, I don't think it was responsible big picture. And I think it's the reason why, or one of the reasons why, they're struggling with CD and Micah.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Reddick?
That's another hard one because you would have thought that the Jets, when they had to, they had to deal with the Eagles. You would have thought, and the Jets GM's a good buddy of mine, Joe Douglas, and he's a very smart guy. And I'm sure Joe addressed it with the agent and the player at that point. Because what you really want is before you complete that trade, what you want is a signed and executed contract.
Right.
Because obviously the reason the Eagles are moving him is because he wants more money.
Right.
So you don't want that player coming to your team with the same problem. You'd like to, when the leverage is with you, meaning before you sign him, you want him and the agent to say, okay, we're all together on this. We're going to extend his deal 3 years. We're going to pay him X amount of dollars, and he's going to be a happy Jet.
Right.
Instead, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, that didn't happen. And now he dug his cleats in the ground, and he's not moving. Mm-hmm. And the Jets are sitting there, without a net. Now, the flip side is once they get the deal done, he'll come in and perform at a high level.
Right.
But you'd much rather have him in camp.
Sounds like a Jets problem, not an Eagles problem right now. But, okay, so back to Eagles again. We are week 2 of training camp. The pads are on. What have you noticed what has caught your eye in terms of good progression, standouts, things that are going well in camp right now? Things or people?
Yeah, and, the caveat, Leigh, is that I haven't been at practice.
Yeah, you haven't been on site yet because we're going together eventually. But I don't know if we can because you're getting a new hip.
Well, we'll figure it out. But I haven't been there. Uh-huh. I've talked to some people. I have a feel for what's going on. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think if you're an Eagle fan, what you're happy for is the competition at corner.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about Darius Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked last week about Bradbury maybe becoming a safety. And so there was kind of like, who's going to be the other corner? And I think people are really surprised that in addition to, people were talking about, well, Kaylee Ringo has come on.
Yeah.
And he's I told you last week, height, weight, speed kid out of Georgia, 4th round pick. But they also signed Isaiah Rodgers last year, who was suspended by the NFL for gambling. And he was
the Colts.
What's that?
He was with the Colts?
Yeah, with Indy.
Yeah.
He started 10 games over 3 years. He's a competitive, feisty, tough, smart kid. Not, you wouldn't say he's a all-pro corner, but he's going to compete and play pretty good every week. Mm-hmm. When he got suspended, the Jets cut him. And give Howie Roseman credit because Howie swooped in and signed him.
Wait, the Colts cut him?
The Colts cut him. I'm sorry. Colts cut him. So the Colts cut him. Howie swoops in and signs him, knows he's basically stashing the kid for a year because he's on suspension. Mm-hmm. He comes out this year and he's competing in practice. He's getting some first-team reps, and it doesn't surprise me that he's competing. He's a tough, smart kid. So they've got him competing. They got Kaylee Ringo competing. At the end of the day, they drafted Quinyon Mitchell in the first round. Mm-hmm. And I think that kid's going to be the real deal. And whether it's as training camp progresses or as the season progresses, ultimately, I think he'll be the guy opposite Darius Leigh.
Yeah, it sounds like he and A.J. Brown have been having a really fun and productive at the same time experience together, playing against each other. So there's kind of no better way to practice and get your game up than that, right?
Well, I like the way Quinyon carries himself, and I saw it at the Senior Bowl, and he's not a big chirper, mm-hmm. but if you want to get in a contest with him, he's not backing down. He's like that guy in the hoops game, in the pickup hoop game, where winners stay on the court. And you want him on your side because you're probably going to stay on the court for 2 hours and just keep winning games.
What do you know about that, Dad? Please,
I know.
what do you know about that?
I know. I played a lot more pickup hoop games than you did.
Okay, cool. But so when we're talking about the defense, is it a concern that they're pretty young? That we're pretty young? defensively?
I think it's exciting, and I think it's
Okay.
also exciting because of the defensive coordinator. Vic Fangio is my age; he's been around forever. He's old school, but he's also new school as well as what's being taught around the league. It'll be a highly disciplined, tough unit. They won't make big mistakes. They won't get beat deep often, and they'll compete their asses off. And I think for the young guys like Jalen Carter, who we talked about a lot last week, I mean, to me, Jalen Carter's a guy that has to dominate in that defensive front, and I think he will. And they put the pads on, and he wore out a couple linemen yesterday. He's too quick for some guys. Apparently, he beat up Mekhi Becton a couple times.
Yeah.
He was too quick one time. Had a big club and just clubbed the 340 pounder on another one.
Someone said he tossed him around. I was like, imagine just those words, like tossed around a 300-pound man.
Oh yeah, I mean, not to get too technical, but there's a thing called a stutter club, and that was his best move coming out of college. And it's basically where he's stuttering and trying to get the offensive lineman to
like
just kind of like
you're juking around.
Yeah, to get him on his heels a little bit, and then you wind up and club him, and then you're trying to either swim or rip by him, and that's what the move that Carter had coming out of Georgia, and his club was so freaking heavy, and it doesn't surprise me that he could club that guy out of the way.
Yeah, that's fun. That will be fun to watch, honestly.
Yep. Yep.
Did you see just today? I don't know if you have just like an hour ago. There was a big fight at Steelers camp.
No, who fought?
I don't know, but it made me think of you.
Why?
I mean, isn't that how you got noticed at training camp yourself? You want to take us through that?
Not really, but
come on. You were like a not that known guy at what was it, Giants training camp or Steelers?
Yeah, it was Giants training camp, and not to make a big deal out of it, but I ended up
we
getting in
don't
a
condone
fight.
fighting here. We condone physicality and hard work and aggressiveness.
No, I got a guy cheap shot at me, and I didn't back down. And I think because of that, there was a young special teams coach by the name of Bill Belichick, and he kind of liked that. And he came up to me because back in the day, you practiced in pads twice a day. That was the morning practice. And he came up to me in the afternoon practice and said, you think you're a tough guy, huh? We're going to find out today. And I got a bunch of reps on special teams, and that helped me make the team.
That's crazy. No, I think it was, I feel like it was a late defensive hit on Justin Fields. I think what happened at Steelers.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah, the Justin Fields, that'll be interesting, the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson thing.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, Russell had a calf problem,
right.
And he was the presumptive number one going
I
into
didn't
camp.
know we were presuming that.
Well, Mike Tomlin said, yeah, he said he would have the starter's position, the starter pole position, meaning, hey, he was going to start there, but it didn't mean he was going to end there. He had pole position is the way Tomlin put it. He hurts his calf, and in comes Fields and took advantage of the time frame for 3 or 4 days, played at a high level. And I think the prevailing they might play in one of the toughest divisions in all of football, in that AFC North. And I'm a huge Mike Tomlin fan, and they'll always compete, and they'll play at a high level. But, are they going to be 9-8? With Russell Wilson, you kind of, his best days are behind him. He'll get you in and out of the huddle. He'll get the proper protections called. He'll make some plays. But Justin Fields' upside, especially with his legs, because he's so athletic, he can also throw the ball, though. So the wild card for Pittsburgh is if Justin Fields becomes a starting quarterback, does that make them a better team if he plays at a higher level? Because his ceiling at this point is higher than Russell Wilson. So it's really intriguing to watch. And I think as a matter of fact, they're a team on the Eagles' schedule because the Eagles play the NFC North this year. So they're going to have to deal with some pretty good quarterbacks in that division.
Yeah, speaking of the schedule, a lot of people have been talking about the Eagles' schedule. What stuck out to me was that a week 5 bye sucks, if you ask me. That is so early. It's ridiculous. But starting off against Jordan Love in Brazil, and then week 5 bye, and then finishing it out with 3 divisional games. Like, what sticks out to you about this schedule? Do you think it's a fair schedule? Do you think it's a hard one? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, when I was with the Raiders, the way I always kind of looked at it is where was our bye week? And every team in the league is allowed to request from the league certain things. Like, I want my bye week later. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you tell
You
the
get
league,
to
I'd like.
request it after it comes out?
No, before.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, the league's got the supercomputer and they're going
Yeah.
to feed all the crap through, but you can request certain things. Like common things are, I want my bye late if possible. If I have to go to London, I want my bye after that game. I'm a West Coast team and I'm coming east several times this year. So I'd like at least 2 of the games to be back to back so I can play, in Philly, stay and then play at the Giants the next week without flying back and forth. So teams can ask for these things. You don't always get it, obviously.
And if you're the Raiders, you definitely don't get it.
Well, we didn't get what I wanted, but what I always kind of look at is what divisions are we playing? And this year, I think the Eagles have the AFC North that I just mentioned, and that's a hard deal. You got Baltimore, you got Pittsburgh, you got Cincinnati, you got Cleveland. All 4 are potential playoff teams.
Yeah, they're all on our schedule. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's because it's a rotate. Every year you play 2 divisions, one in the AFC, one in the NFC that aren't your guys, right? So the AFC North is hard. Juxtaposing that, though, is that their NFC division is the NFC South. And I think they play them weeks 2, 3, and 4. If you have the schedule in front of you, who are they playing weeks 2, 3, and 4?
Falcons, Saints, Bucks. Yep.
Yeah. So to me, that's one of the weaker divisions in football. So, they got to go to Brazil and play a good Green Bay team, with Rich Bisaccia as their special team coach and assistant head coach.
Oh, lucky.
And I texted him this morning a picture of him from like Pro Football Talk yesterday, and I called him a media pig.
Oh, a media pig?
Yeah. saying he was playing up to the media, just having some fun with Richard.
He probably had a funny retort back, I'm sure.
He did, and maybe I called him something other than pig, but I'm not going to say it here.
Okay.
But anyway, they're playing those 3 NFC South teams 3 weeks in a row. So coming back from Brazil and Green Bay, they're 3 eminently winnable games.
Right, okay? But also, if you look at it that way too, and the way Philly fans look at things, it's like if you don't win those,
Yeah, but you can play that out any way you want. I mean, if you do win in Green Bay, you don't win in Brazil. The bottom line is, Leigh, they're going to be a pretty young team, which is what you said a little while ago. And I like the way weeks 2, 3, and 4 lay out a little bit.
Okay.
Again, Kirk Cousins is a good veteran quarterback for Atlanta, but I think they've got a chance there to compete. Love to see Vic Fangio's defense step up and kind of squat those teams a little bit and give them some confidence and give Jalen and that offense a chance to start rolling.
Now, and just to track back a little bit for a second, training camp, has there been anything? We talked about the good stuff and the things you're looking forward to seeing more, but is there anything concerning you at this time?
Not really. Okay. I mean, even though Tyler Steen went down at guard, it kind of gave him an opportunity to look at some other guys.
Some other musical chairs.
Yeah, we talked about Becton, who's intriguing. But one of the things I love about Howie is he's always bringing people in. Like, they brought in Max Sharping, who's a veteran interior offensive lineman. And then as soon as Steen went down, they got Nick Gates, another veteran interior offensive lineman. And I think what Howie is really good at is ensuring competition through quality depth. So when you look at, like 2 years ago, I thought the Eagles roster was the best in football, and they lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Last year, I thought the Eagles roster was really good, and we talked about this a little bit last week. And this year, I think the Eagles have a top 4 or 5 roster in the league. Right. So, So when you see an injury in camp, what you're hoping is that it's a short period of time because you'll get the guy back. Mm-hmm. Plus, you'll get to work in some of the other guys.
No, makes sense. Some depth everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you ready for some Q&A from social media?
No.
Okay, this is so fun.
Didn't you say a half an hour?
No. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. Okay. So I literally just said you were coming back on the pod and send in your questions for you. I like this one. From ZHop5. What did Mike see in Maxx Crosby that made him want to select him day 3? One of the greatest day 3 picks in NFL history, by the way.
So Maxx is one of my favorite people in the world. And what's cool about it is a couple things. One is when I watched the film and when John Gruden watched it independently, mm-hmm. we both came away with kind of the same response. Like, obviously Maxx is a white guy, but he is pasty white. And when he was wearing those green, ugly Eastern Michigan unis, he stuck out.
He was glowing. Right? He was glowing.
Pretty much, right? And he probably only weighed 248 pounds, and he was this long, pasty kid that played harder than every player on the tape, every tape you put in. Mm-hmm. So John and I both kind of came away from it saying, wow, it's really cool how hard he works. He's going to need to put weight on. He's not big enough to play the run. He's raw as a pass rusher, but he can bend like Gumby. That's what I had in my notes. With my big letters, bend like Gumby. And you're too young to know who Gumby was, but
yeah, no, it's that guy that looks like those things outside of the the laundromats that like fly in the air.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so Maxx, I think Leigh, the hard thing, I think the important thing for people to understand is that every team in the league also understood that he might have had a drinking problem and maybe more beyond that. Mm-hmm. And I can say this because he's obviously gone public.
Right, clearly. So and helping a lot of people along the way. Yeah.
We knew he had a potential bad issue there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have to factor that in. And the night before day 3 of that draft, we had, I think, picks 106 and 108 early in the 4th round. Mm-hmm. And made the decision that night, and I called John and said, hey, let's take Maxx at 106. We both love him. It's a no-brainer. We're going to have to work a little bit on the other stuff, and then we'll trade out of 108. And I had a bunch of trade offers for both those picks, but we kept 106 for Maxx. Mm-hmm. 108, we traded a couple different times, and the cool thing there is it helped us net eventually Foster Moreau, who became a starter, and Hunter Renfrow, who became a Pro Bowl player in the 5th round that year. Right. So by trading that 2nd, 4th round pick, it created some additional picks that panned out for us.
Wow. Yeah. Shout out Maxx Crosby. We miss you, 98. We miss you.
let me give one last shout out for Maxx, and it has to do with his wife, Rachel. Rachel was his college sweetheart, and as a rookie, Maxx played his ass off, but he was drinking and smoking and doing way too much stuff. And Rachel basically left him. Said, this is how you're going to live your life. I'm out. And that sobered him up quickly. And to his credit and his agent's credit, they got him in to a facility in L.A. The Raiders supported it 100%. Maxx wanted to leave every day. We all spent different times talking with him about how important it was to stay there. But Rachel was the glue in that whole thing. And what's cool about them today, I mean, Maxx is an addict. He's addicted to everything, whatever he gets into. If he's a drinker, he's going hard. If he's smoking, he's going hard. He's now been sober for several years now. And what's important to him is he wants to be a Hall of Fame football player. He wants to be a great dad. He wants to be a great husband. And he's the best leader on that team. And he's become a really special guy. We were at his wedding last year. And,
I heard I got some text messages that you were dancing a lot.
Well, I'm a rare GM that can dance. So,
There's not even a category for that. You shouldn't be bragging about that.
I'm kidding, of course. I'm just
No.
that anyway, Max, I tip my hat to Maxx Crosby and to
Yeah, me
Rachel.
too. I miss them so much. But okay, another one. So that was a good one. See, don't you like these?
We'll see.
Okay. Let's see here. What do you miss about covering the draft with Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah?
I miss the camaraderie of the whole thing. I mean, Rich and I did it for a lot of years, and I gained more and more respect for him as it went on, because not only was he incredibly well prepared, but because he had so many different analysts, whether it was me, DJ, then they brought in all the former players, whether it was Deion Sanders, Marshall Faulk, Michael Irvin.
Yep.
Rich was able to sublimate his ego to make the show better. And that always stood out to me. And Daniel Jeremiah had been a scout, and because he loved to grind tape like me, we hit it off day one. Yeah. Charlie Uke was a great producer and loved being around. So
the people.
It's always the people, whether it's in the building with the Raiders or with NFL Network, it's about the people.
It's so funny because you and DJ were just like two of a kind, the exact same people, and it was awesome and like worked well for TV and real life. And then you and Rich couldn't be more opposite, and it somehow was also like a beautiful work marriage, and I loved it so much.
It's cool that we're all such good friends.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, I'll only do a few more. Let's see. Oh, this one was good. What is your go-to Wawa hoagie order?
Look, everything's good at Wawa.
I know.
People around the country don't understand.
Wait, actually, I'm sorry not to interrupt you. I'm doing better. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. So I do have to say, we did get a comment on the YouTube. Everyone was so nice. I can't even believe it. I was actually in shock. I mean, it was mainly about you, and I wasn't surprised by that. Like, everyone is excited to see you and hear everyone like missed your insights. Everyone wants to see you on their TV again. People were asking if you would please call the Eagles preseason games. And then there was someone that said, it would be nice if we could hear him finish his sentences. and I had to bring that up because, you know what, sir, you're not wrong. But I have to say, I've spent my entire life interrupting you, emphatically, pretty much. So that doesn't change overnight. But I promise you, dude, I'll try my best to do better moving forward because you were not wrong.
Okay, dude.
I wasn't saying dude at you. I was saying dude to the guy that made that comment.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I interrupted you and did all that because you said everything was good at Wawa, except I just tried and I put this on social media. I just tried their new like sea salt toffee coffee. And I thought I was going to hate it. I just wanted to try it. I thought I was going to hate it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It kind of just tasted like buttery and with like a hazelnut aftertaste. So that's my review on that. But anyway, back to your favorite Wawa hoagie.
That was a fun 2 minutes on the.
Yeah, I'm going to get comments on that.
I just like the Italian hoagie.
I thought you were going to say turkey for sure. Italian
hoagie, man. It's awesome.
Oh, all right.
It's all about the bread.
Do you do oil on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll do one more for you. Did AB really call you a cracker?
Called me a lot of things.
And that was amongst one of them, right?
That was one of them.
All right. And we will leave it at that. Dad, thank you so much for coming back on here. I had a lot of fun. I think I learned some things. I'm glad I learned what a hold-in is because I really thought people were just making up a buzzword. But thank you for being on with us, and we'll have you back on soon.
Good luck, honey.
Love you. Bye.